Thank you for joining us this afternoon for Toy Fair University. Up next, we have From What If to Ship It, How Inventors and Companies Build Hits Together. I'm happy to introduce you to Lee Allentuck. Lee?
Hey, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming today. I'm Lee Allentuck with the Plan A group, and I'm excited to have this esteemed panel with me today. Jordan Goddard of Indie Toy Labs, inventor extraordinaire and YouTuber. David Blanchard of the OP, director of Family and Party Games. Chrissy Fagerholt of EAP Toys and Games, another inventor, and also has a lot of great content online on LinkedIn and things like that. And then Lev Nelson of Sky Castle Toys, founder and owner. So today we're going to talk about inventors, inventions, concepts, and inventor relations. And if you're an inventor, can I get a raise of hands of how many people are here, creatives or inventors that have an idea that they would love to pitch this group of people? We'll be meeting afterwards. You can do it directly. But we're going to talk about the process, what you go through as an inventor, and then as a small business owner, how do you look for outside innovation? How do you find new ideas? And if you walk around this hallway and if you went to the event last night and you see all these great inspiring ideas, a lot of them do come from the inventor community. So we're going to break that down. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk a little bit about what all of you go through on each side of the table. And I'm going to start off with an easy question. Where do ideas come from? No, let me rephrase it. Where do great ideas come from? So Chrissy, you look like you're right there.
Question for the inventors.
You want me to start?
We'll start with you, yeah.
For me personally, like real life is a real motivator for one of my self-published games. It's called The Lunchroom, and I was a lunch lady for a year when my kids were younger, and I took inspiration from that. Others is just real life situations. My game with Mattel called Girls in Bar Bathrooms literally comes from me being a girl in a bar bathroom, and any of you ladies, I'm sure, might understand what that means. And just finding like ways to play with things that are just already natural to me versus coming off of a wish list, which sometimes happens, but for me, I find more relatable things to be more of an inspiration.
Yeah, I can jump in next. You said, where do great ideas come from?
And it could be bad ideas too.
I have a lot of those.
Yeah.
No, I think my challenge with the phrase great ideas is if I knew how to have a great idea, I would never have a bad idea. And I don't know how to do that. I think the best thing we can do, and someone once said to me that creativity is not a measurement of how good something is, it's how different it is. So we really can't control how great an idea is. We can just try to make sure that it's as different as possible from other things. And to that end, I agree with Chrissy. I think if you want diverse and interesting output, then you need diverse and interesting input. So how many weird and interesting things can I put in my head so that they mash up and create something weird and interesting on the way out? I think that's really important. And then when all else fails, I just walk around the hardware store and look at weird things and try to figure out how to stick them together, and then I try to sell it to David.
I mean, as a small company, we try to come up with a lot of ideas internally as well. One thing that I always love for idea generation is intentionally coming up with bad ideas. So forgetting the filter, forgetting any internal judgment, intentionally writing down 10 bad toy ideas. On average, maybe one of those is decent. If you do that 10 times, 100 times, you can, quantity begets quality. And it's a really hard exercise to do to remove that internal judgment and that filter, but I feel like that's a really good exercise, especially for early inventors and creators to be able to still get some good ideas, but be okay with the bad ones too.
Nothing to add? No? All right. I think that's a really good idea, because like if you do 100 ideas, 100 bad ideas, something's got to be good in there, right? Something's got, it's always like the idea that if you're a top student and you go to a top school, well, not everybody can be at the top, right? So the same thing is for bad ideas. If you write another bad ideas, something's going to float to the top that gives you inspiration for that great idea. I think it's a great concept. So, but coming back to, let's talk about the toy and game companies, right? As you are looking for ideas, how are you evaluating them when you come in to a room with an inventor? Where do you start? Are you looking for something that's cool? Are you using an insight? What do you like to hear as far as this process to kind of get into that pitch mode?
So we have like a checklist of things that pretty much every other publisher in the industry is probably looking to check the same boxes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's got to have a wow moment. It's got to be able to, a game that you can describe in 30 seconds and pitch to somebody in the game aisle. There's a lot of overlap there, but really you're just looking for that spark. You know, does this game have that magic sauce?
Yeah.
Which is hard to define what it is, but by going through the checklist of all these other boxes that we're looking for, more often than not, we're zeroing down on the stuff that does have the right ingredients to have that special sauce.
Is there something that you like to see first, like out of the gate, that sort of drives the conversation?
I personally like taking in sizzle videos. I know it's a lot to ask of inventors. I mean, already you're doing so much. For me to say, hey, make a video, learn how to do video production on top of it. I know it's a lot, but it does go a long way, because what you're trying to do in that video is condense this whole big game idea into a very short pitch. And that's exactly what we're doing when we're going to Toys R Us, Walmart, or Target, and we're selling these things. So it helps beyond just the getting it in and getting it published. Like we look back at those pitch videos sometimes, so we're in the sales stage too, like making sure that we're hitting on all those key points of the game.
The sizzle is a great point, because I think also through that process as a creative or an inventor, you might come up with unique aspects of the toy that you hadn't thought about before. And everybody has a smartphone. You know, you can download CapCut and you can cut together some footage, and at least it gives us a sense of, oh, what would a TV commercial actually look like if we were to make it in the future? And it really helps for us to kind of conceptualize it in a way and honestly do a lot of the heavy lifting for us later. You know, coming up with what are the value props? Why is this product different from everything else in the market? And when it comes to inventors coming to us, for instance, from scratch, we really like to see research ahead of time, like understand who you're pitching to, right? We're a small company, we're not a Hasbro or a Mattel, and our interpretation and risk tolerance for new IP is completely different. And so we like inventors that kind of have that in mind going into it and can tailor their pitch to a small company.
Yeah, I would even, you said you don't want to ask for a sizzle video, or maybe it's like too much for it. I would say we think about the exact opposite way. We start with the video first in mind, because for many reasons, it's the most powerful tool we have. One, it's the great filter. Like, if I can't make it into a good video, it's not a good idea. Like, if you can't talk about it for 30 seconds, move on. And we actually have a video checklist, and I'll share this. I don't know if I should probably, but this is our internal method. We use something we developed called the SHAPE method, and it's SHAPE, and all of our videos go through these 5 things. And it's basically a video outline. SHAPE stands for surprise, hook, action, payoff, and emotion or engagement. And so for us, when we start writing down an idea, we go, okay, surprise and hook, that's supposed to happen on shelf. So the box should look surprising and have a hook on the box. Gameplay, great, that's the next portion of the video. We're gonna go action, and then what's the payoff for that action? It has to have both. And then the emotion, I need to give you a reason to want to share this online. So what is the engagement tail on this that you as a publisher can picture someone posting on TikTok? And so that's our internal framework, and I'm glad I gave it away to everybody for free. It took us 5 years to figure it out, so fine. But it's really great, and I think it's a great rubric for which to guide yourself through the video. You should write the video before you start designing the toy, because you're gonna realize as you're going through the video in your head, well, I need a 1, 2, and 3, but I've got a 1, 2, so what's my 3? And it really helps you develop that, because at the end of the day, we're a great voice for what our invention is, but we don't get to pitch to everybody on their team. Our video will pitch for us, so we have to make sure that it's really rock solid, that we arm you to sell in and go from there.
I was going to add on to that, like the video, once I pitch to David, I'm hoping what I pitch to him is going to translate, and if your video is not translating what I pitched to David or better, then you're kind of hurting yourself in that process, because your pitch is David's going to marketing, and marketing has to see how they can do it. So it's like there's so many people who are filtering through your product that it gets watered down almost by the time David gets it to the final decision maker. So you don't have to, like, Jordan's great at video production. I am straight up iMovie, but I kill at my sizzles. I'm gonna brag about it because I tried, like, to me it's fun to make. And it's like, if I'm not selling it even to a friend, then I'm definitely not selling it to him. So it's important. It doesn't have to be over the top. It just has to be really good at, like, think smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it should be said, back in the day that people would spend thousands and thousands of dollars on prototypes and on videos and things like this. It doesn't need to be Hollywood. You have a phone on you right now that you could shoot a quick how-to play or a quick sizzle. Take advantage of that technology and 3D printing that allows you to be able to produce a really solid concept and a really solid video that David and Lev, well, Lev, you make the decisions, but like other people that they've got to pitch to internally, there's a whole group of people that have to make the decision once it gets through the IR people. What is, from that standpoint, like when you're presenting, like from the inventor side, where you start with a video, but what is like your opening pitch? Like what are you using? A lot of people say the objective of the game or the toy. Is it the insights that you have? Where did it come from? What do you like to lead with?
We like to lead with an insight. So we like to lead with, here's what inspired this idea. And I think that for some people that I've spoken with, they get nervous about that part. So in other words, like let's say you came up with a great toy based on this TikTok trend. There are people who would be kind of nervous of sharing this TikTok trend because now it kind of leaves your sphere of creativity, right? Like, well, I pulled from this, and now if I pulled from this, then you assume maybe my creativity is lower than maybe somebody who just dreamt it up in the middle of the night. I found that to not be true. I found that it usually really helps to show that we can take an insight that's popular, translate it and productize it into something that can go on a shelf and connect those dots, because when you see a video that maybe has a trending thing in it, you come out with a very different product in your head than maybe Lev would come up with, or Chrissy would come up with, or something similar. So it's best to be open and honest with where you found the insight, because it does two things. One, it shows how you've shaped an insight into a product, which will come in handy for future relationships as they count on you to do the same for others. But then also, it shows a market desire for that trend. And look, we're all in the business of arming David and Lev and the similar with the tools they need to bring our products to market. And we, like I said, we're the best spokesperson for our ideas, but when we're not there and they have to sell in for us, we need to arm them with those things. So sharing the insight that helped us come up with it first is always really helpful.
I typically go for humor. Like if I can make someone laugh, I feel like that's a memorable tool for me. And then I jump.
So hard. That is so hard, man.
And then I jump quickly into what that game is. I mean, my focus is social family party game, so it's easy. My material is easy to work from, and that might be as simple as like if it's a video, just showing a quick laugh of why it's fun, like getting that kind of right off the bat. You know, again, based on like commercial, you don't have to teach every single rule in the game right away. They just need to see that hook and concept, and how do you make that memorable.
Yeah, to follow up on not needing to see every rule, I mean, just getting the idea of the game across in a tight, quick pitch is the best way to present it. Doing something over like Tabletop Simulator, painful. It's just, you're not getting the across the table interaction that you would doing it in person. Just really think about the context of how you're presenting the idea and make sure that we're walking away with the core feeling of the game, and we'll learn the rules later, assuming that they're nice and concise and well written.
I love when people show me TikTok or YouTube trends, because we're a small company. We depend on ideas and IP that can be leveraged with social media, because it's our best opportunity to be able to break through the noise and be able to market our products to the masses without having multi-million-dollar budgets like really big toy companies. And so when I see a TikTok trend, it simplifies our whole effort where we already know there's demand or interest in a particular product or a category that we may not have ever seen before. It could be a total blind spot because there's so much on social. You can't consume it all yourself. And so inventors can so often help us to find these really cool, interesting niches that might be a spark or like the rising star of a new trend that could explode, that if we get in on it soon, then we can take advantage of it versus, fidget spinners is a great example. The people who saw that early on and were able to get product into the market were the ones who succeeded. And then everybody else who followed got stuck with millions and millions of dollars of inventory that they had to close out.
So let's talk about your product right there on your wrist, sticky rolls. Millions of them sold, right? Inventor concept. Yep. What did it come in looking like?
So we licensed sticky rolls from JMP Creative, Jim McCafferty, great friend, a prolific inventor. If you have a chance to meet him and pick his brain as a young inventor, I highly recommend it. He's very receptive. When he came to us with this concept, it was in kind of more in the shape and form of a DIY kit for girls. It was a glitter tape bracelet with positive sentiments. And when he pitched it to us, we kind of saw it for something different that it could be. And so we molded it from being more of a DIY kit, more of like a classic kit that you'd see in that DIY aisle, that activity aisle, into more of a collectible range. And so we incorporated all these different collectible elements. And a lot of that came through collaboration with Jim. Me and my team, we would go down to his offices in California. We're based up in Seattle, and we would meet with him on every 2 or 3 months to give him updates into our development. And at one crucial point in the development, we didn't even plan on having a rarity structure for this collectible bracelet brand that we were about to launch. And Jim said, "That's a bad idea. Don't do that. Incorporate rarity systems, and because that's what's really necessary for a core collectible brand to succeed, is you need to have that chase component." And Jim was instrumental in that, and that's really that's a benefit and an opportunity that we have as a small company, is we like to keep our inventors really close throughout the entire developmental process instead of licensing a concept and then see it when it launches. So it was a great collaboration.
So that brings up a great question. Let's say we get through the process. There's a yes, there's a contract. How often do the inventors stay involved? So we heard with that one with Jim, he's very active in the development, still is in the development process. How about from the op?
Yeah, I actually just talked about this in the Mojo thing that came out. There's 3 new games that we're introducing this year that honestly would not exist without the inventor. Obviously, they came up with the idea, but without their involvement in the process. One of the games, called Red or Yellow, we literally mimicked the way the game was presented to us because it was just so honest and it fit the vibe of the game. We had to intentionally push the artist to make it look like a handmade prototype, and that's what's going to be on store shelves. Cool. So we're always trying to work with inventors because, who's going to be more passionate about this idea than the person that came up with it in the first place?
And it's in their best interest to get it to market.
Yeah, they're the ambassadors for the product, yeah.
Does that always happen? Are the inventors always involved? Oh. There we go.
I'll take this one. No. These guys do a great job of it. And that's the end of that sentence. There's a lot of different business models, I think, for Inventor. We are really hands-on. We like to, we have an engineering component, an electrical engineering and mechanical engineering component. We like to bring finished products to market with our partners. But we still have clients that take an idea and don't call us for 6 months, and we literally have found it on shelves. It does happen, and that's fine too. It's a lot less work. It's nice, but I enjoy being a part of it. I think your point is, who is more passionate about the invention than the inventor? It's not just passion. It's also, we've thought about it. It's kept us up for longer than you. We had to crack it, and so we know all the things that don't work. And so that's why I appreciate the kind of level of partnership that's represented here, because it really gets the most out of what we're all working on, and that's really great.
How about you, Chrissy?
I've had the experience of working with kind of medium to high level or bigger companies. So when I signed with Mattel, bye. I didn't know what was going to happen to that game, and I didn't have any input on the art. I was very specific that the game had to be titled what it was titled, but that still wasn't even a guarantee. So my piece of advice for you inventors who are just so in love with your product, do know that a majority of it may change, and your input may be taken, but sometimes it won't be, and you just have to let that go, and just be okay with the fact that you hope you're putting it into the professionals' hands who are making the choices they're making based on history and data and knowing what sells, and it just may not be what you had in mind. And if it is, that's awesome, but it's okay to just kind of, if you're getting into this and you're licensing a product, you have to realize you're going to let go of a lot of control.
The good news is you got a product to market. Bad
Yes.
news, it may not be your product.
Correct.
Did you want to add something?
That's okay.
Okay. So we purposely picked this group for a couple of reasons. One is we know that the large toy companies have a fleet of people to be able to evaluate and look at concepts and things like this. And we're talking about small and medium-sized companies here. How does that differ from both sides of the table? How does that differ in a pitch for a concept? How do you recommend people, inventors and creatives, approaching small and medium-sized businesses versus the large giant corporations when it comes to inventions?
Well, what I love when inventors come and pitch us, one is the insights. Obviously, that's a big thing. Find a problem, find a pain point for a particular demographic that you think we can solve, or a new innovation. The second thing is competitive research. It's something that I don't see enough inventors do, that I really, really appreciate the ones who do, where, okay, I know what this product is or this game, and I know where it could fit at retail. And I've already gone to that retailer, and I've taken pictures of all the competitors that I think already exist, that we would have to compete against in order to make this product successful. You analyze the price points, you analyze the packaging, the size, the weight, all of these factors. If you can bring that to a company and say, I already kind of have a good cost estimate of what this can be, and if, estimating cost is difficult, but through, talking to other inventors, you can usually get a rough idea, but understanding, giving me an insight so I don't have to come up with that like right off the bat, I can assess the value and the opportunity of an item based on where it fits in the competitor landscape. And if you can kind of spell that out from the jump and give us a head start with that in mind, it makes the decision making way easier.
I also think knowing the company's products, like Lev has not as many products as the Op doesn't have as many as Mattel, and sometimes you have to go do a deep dive because you don't want to go to a pitch and they're like, we've already done this. Or if you've got something similar, then you can say, I know, but this is why this is better. At least it shows that you've done your research and you're not just walking in saying, oh, I have this bracelet, and it turns into a sticker. You know what I mean? You just have to really do a deep dive. And I'm talking like with Mattel, they've been around forever. I mean, there's games that are just no longer on the market. They're just like, you can buy a copy on eBay, but they may say it didn't work in the 80s. It's not going to work now, or maybe it is. So just really research every company that you're pitching to and what they have, and that's a lot, but you have to do it.
And when we're talking about small and medium-sized companies, the teams within those companies are small and medium-sized too. So to piggyback on what you were saying, actually, you know what? I've been in your shoes before. I've represented inventors. I've pitched games, and I would always make a one sheet as a leave behind, and I tried to think of what are all the exercises that the publisher is going to go through to decide whether they're going to take this game or not. They're going to they're going to wonder how much is it going to cost to make, how many games are going to fill a container, how long the development pipeline is. If you can provide any early glimpse into that, it makes the workload for us a lot lighter. And again, as a small team, any help we can get is great.
I think that's a great point, is that having the market research, having the consumer insights, where does it come from, where is it going, what are the trends, and then even the costing understanding the manufacturing process. And it's not that hard to do in this day and age because there's so many resources available online. There's so many companies here that can do a lot of that work for you as a partner. So yeah, I think that's great advice.
Can I add one thing to that?
No, sorry,
Okay,
we're
thank you.
done.
No, I would add, we use a phrase internally called distance to decision maker. So a small and medium sized company is going to have a really low distance to decision maker. You may have 1 or 2 contacts before a final decision is made. Very large company is going to have a very large distance to decision maker. So you have to understand, like, how many hands is this going to change before it gets to somebody who can make a final decision, and then appropriately arm the concept with what it needs to get through that process. And sometimes that's kind of counterintuitive. So when we have a very high distance to decision maker company, a very large company that we're working with, we may actually pull polish off the product. We may not color it. We may submit a white model, right? Because they may be looking at this for 3 or 4 different brands, or a technology or a mech in there. So we don't want to over-influence it by coloring it this way or that way, or making it, more for boy or more for girl or more for, DIY or whatever. We may pull polish off a little bit sometimes. Sometimes we'll really increase it if it really needs it. But we're always looking for, like, how many hands is it going to change before a decision maker touches it, and then how do we arm that concept for making that journey?
It's so hard because you're actually trying to read minds. And sometimes those minds don't even know what they want. So, trying to show examples of different licenses, different brands, different coloring, it's okay. It's also okay to ask these guys, what do you need from me to help sell it in? It's a conversation, it's a collaboration. Once you two bring it in, it's now somewhat of a partnership. It might not be signed contract, but they need your help to help sell it in as well.
Yeah, one thing I'll add is if you're about to pitch a company and you don't already have a brief from them, what they're looking for, what trends they're hunting.
Wish list.
Yeah, a wish list. If they haven't given you one, ask for one, because that'll help to narrow down your portfolio of products that you're willing to pitch that's actually relevant to what they're looking for, and it'll help you to tailor that pitch to that wish list. And so, like, every time an inventor wants to bring us a concept, I give the brief first, because it'll save a bunch of time. We don't accept games. We don't do games. And so I don't want to immediately just reject somebody who starts pitching a game. But if there's a brief and an understanding beforehand, then it helps us to get to the stuff that's most relevant sooner.
It's a huge point, is getting to know what they're looking for. And if they say they're not looking for games, don't come with games, right? It doesn't look professional, and it's a waste of your time and theirs. Now, you may have something interesting to show them about a game that gives a play experience that you would want to show, but be very careful what they're looking for. So this is the part of the program. I've been doing this for a long time, looking at inventions and concepts and working with inventors and outside creators. I've become the purveyor of no. I say no so much in my own life. I do feel like I'm the parent sometimes saying no.
I'm the receiver of no.
Yes, so we work well together. So Dave and Lev, real quick, how many concepts do you look at in a year? In a given year, roughly? It doesn't have to, I'm not going to check your math.
Oh, David's way more than me, that's for sure.
How many got?
I'd say about 100.
Okay.
Collectively, between the 3 of us and Inventor Relations, we're looking about at least 2,000.
Yeah. I'm right about 800 to 1,000.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. How many products do you bring to market a year?
Right now,
Yeah.
2, maybe 3 new brands a year.
Out of 100. Okay.
Yeah, we'll narrow it down to probably about 100 that we are bringing in and play testing the prototypes in the office, and then eventually we'll publish, maybe 6 to 12 of that.
So it's a lot of no's.
A lot of no's.
A lot of no's. We try to do it in a nice way and give feedback. So let's talk about no's. Why do good ideas still get no's?
Yeah, David.
I mean, I find that offering no's is okay if you align it with constructive feedback, right? Just giving an inventor a hard no is difficult, and that you still might receive those. People are short on time. David's reviewing over 1,000 items a year, 1,000 games a year. It's hard for him to give constructive feedback to every new concept, even if it is a no. But
Try.
but I think so often it's not about whether the item or the game is really good or really bad. It's just whether it's not a fit for the company. I mean, we all have so many different needs, and it's a big, I said this earlier, but it's a big risk to take on a new item. Like, it's a big risk for me as an owner, it's a big risk for David in his position, and so the inventor understanding that level and like the risk that we take by bringing on a new brand and the hundreds of thousands, if not more, in investment that it takes to bring a product to market helps to be more accepting of that no.
Everyone, I think, has probably heard or said, it's not you, it's me. In a lot of cases, that's probably what's happening here is like you've got a great game or a great product idea, and for whatever reason, it's just not the right time for that publisher. Maybe they just signed something that was, that you have a better idea. Literally happened to this guy sitting next to me. And I won't go into detail, but like we just signed something and he pitched a very similar idea. And we're like, oh, this is better. But, you know, it was, yeah.
Here's what I would say. I really, I think it's the most important part of the job. Anyone can come up with an idea, but it's how many times can you get shut down and still keep coming back that really matters, because that puts us in a position to be successful over a long period of time. I don't think anybody's in this audience because they want to have one good idea. I think we're all naive enough to think we have a lot, and so we're going to be doing this for a while. So you have to get really good at this part. So here's what I would say. The no comes in two parts every time. It comes with the no, and then a comma, and then a reason. The no is the price of admission to get the best feedback you'll get anywhere in the industry. The most honest someone will be with you is right after they've told you no. There's something called, there's an escalation of tension. So when he's watching something I'm pitching to him, he knows he's going to say no well before I know he's going to say no. So there's an escalation of tension, and it goes like this, right? And then as soon as he says no, that tension transfers to me. Now I'm pretty stressed. It's going to take me a little while to come off of that, right? Sorry. And he has the opportunity.
2,000 no's from David.
So. I know, yeah, no. No, and so what I'm saying is, as soon as he says no, he gets to relax a little bit and then be really candid with you. And if you have it in you in that moment to listen, it's the best feedback you'll ever get. Because they're going to be really honest, because they want to tell you why so you get better. We are a partner. No one here is adversarial. We all want the same thing. We want good products to come to market. We all want to make a bunch of money for it. So it's the best feedback you'll ever get, and it's the hardest way to get it, but you have to pay the price of admission, and that's sitting still while he says no again.
And keep in mind, too, that the no is like, I mean, for me, it should be fuel to your fire, right? Like, David's job is not to tell me how to make this game better. His job is to say, this is why we're saying no. So now I have to go back and go, okay, why did he say no? And how do I incorporate now his advice from a company perspective to making this game hopefully a yes? And you will get a lot of no's, and that's okay. David's told me no plenty of times, and we're friendly, you know, we're still friendly with each other. But also you're gonna get, if you get a no, that no is so much better than getting ghosted, and you will be ghosted. You'll get nothing. That's actually worse. I'd rather have David tell me to my face in the pitch meeting, not for us. Maybe later the no comes through an email and they've just looked at the sizzle. Maybe the no comes after I've sent a prototype. But it's okay. The ghosting is fine. You're gonna get used to that too. Eventually you'll have to see these people, at an event again, or you're gonna re-pitch to them. It's just being okay with it, moving on, and that's, they're busy. Lev's level is busy is different than his, and he's making the decisions, a lot himself. And sometimes things just get lost, and that's okay. Do a little bit of follow-up, but just realize that don't take it personally. It's going to happen more than not.
And sometimes we change our minds. We've got a database of ideas that we've passed on, and that there's times that a year or two later, we're looking for something in a certain vein, and we're going back to the archives and saying, oh, that's right, so-and-so pitched us this, and then it ignites the whole thing. And even Toy Fair last year, someone came in and pitched a game, and I said no right there to his face in the booth and tried to keep it civil. But over the course of the next 5 minutes of discussing why, I talked myself into it, and we ended up signing it. So
that's how Flip 7 became a world phenomenon.
Right. But I guess take the feedback, because if you are getting constructive feedback, it's coming from a good place where the publisher just wants you to create more and come back next time with even stronger ideas.
Yeah, and I think that's the collaboration piece of it. It's important for the inventor to allow the company to be able to give that feedback, accept the no and hear the feedback. And it's important for the company to provide useful feedback so the next time a pitch comes in from this inventor or this designer, it's closer. And I always like to say there's three phases. The first time I meet with an invention group, it's usually not very good. Maybe I see an idea I like, but it's usually not on brand or things like that. Second time, if I give proper feedback and explain what we're looking for and give details, they're getting closer. And then the third time, we're all speaking the same language. We may not sign every deal, but at least we're getting closer. And you have to remember that it's not a one and done pitch in this little universe of ours. It's a huge place with lots of companies, but it's a small world. We all know each other, and so we're going to see each other again. So here's, we only have a couple more minutes. We'll be taking questions over here, and we have some giveaways from the team here that we'll hand out. So, but here's probably the two most important questions. All right, for the inventors, what is one thing that you want the manufacturers or the partners to know about you and what you do? What is one thing that you want the people you're pitching to, the inventor relations people, what is one thing that you want them to know about your world and what you do? Help them do their job.
Yes. I kind of getting back to the no situation is I want to feel that I am going in there fully prepared with my concept and having all the materials and I can answer all the questions. And even if they do say no, maybe David said no because the company's going to say no, but he actually liked the idea, but that I'm giving him something to be like, I want to see another pitch from Chrissy. Like, maybe she's shown me 20 and I'll see the 21st pitch. Or I've never done anything in Lev's realm, but I hope that like I'm in a setting where I'm like, hey, I have this idea. I've done my research. I've listened to you on podcasts. I know what he wants. I know what his company wants. That he's going to go, you know what? David said good things about Chrissy, and I would take a pitch from her even though I don't have toys. Jordan's does everything, so he can pitch to anyone, but just you have to kind of set yourself up as a professional, give them something to enjoy about you, and if, it might not be the right fit, but at least I gave him something that he would give me that opportunity to pitch again.
Yeah. So if I could speak into the hearts of the people I'm pitching to, here's what I would want them to know. We started with a broad idea of what this concept could be. We narrowed this idea in focus to show it to you so you'd have a binary yes or no. But it could have been 15 other things. And so the thing I wish I could really convey to the people who are listening to pitches is there are times when we are showing you a thing that could have been 4 or 5 other things. And so if what I'm showing you is near what you want, but not exactly what you want, let's find a way to work together to shape it in one of the 15 other ways it could have been before I narrowed it down to this one thing to show you for a binary yes or no. So that would be my choice, because sometimes there are so many things we have to make. We make so many decisions before we show it to a partner or a publisher that just preclude it being other things. And so sometimes we have this concept that's this mechanism that could do 4 or 5 things, but we've chosen the one that we put in this game. So elongating that pitch a little bit so that we have time to explore the other things it could be as well is sometimes helpful, and you can brainstorm together like that.
Beautiful. All right, from your side, David and Lev, what is one thing that you wish inventors understood about your role?
You mean our companies personally?
Yeah, you.
For us, like I mentioned earlier, we're a very socially driven company. And so I'm looking for products that I can make 1,000 short form YouTube videos that kids want to binge watch on YouTube, full stop. If your item can solve that problem for me and create a bunch of content that I can build a YouTube channel from, then I want to see it. And that's the first thing that I put in my inventor brief, and that's the filter that we use for every single product that we assess.
No pressure, David. What is one thing? What is, with 54 seconds left, what is one thing you want inventors to know about your role as an inventor relations
Well, I mean,
professional?
we already kind of touched on how much is outside of our control in the
Yeah.
decision-making process. I think having a clear understanding of that. I kind of want to answer what the last question was, though, about things that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Play testing. I mean, I'm talking specifically about games, but I'm worried. We're just starting out, kicking off our meetings right now with inventors at Toy Fair this year. And I'm worried that in the age of AI that we're in right now, we're going to see a lot of smoke and mirrors. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But it feels like technology is going so fast that it's going to be really easy to take the shotgun approach and throw a bunch of ideas out there and hope that one or two of them stick.
But not very deep.
But not very deep. When we're looking at game concepts, we want to know that you play tested the crap out of it.
Yeah.
You know, we want to know that, and that you got feedback from someone other than your spouse or your kids or your family or friends. You know, you took it to a con or you set up a table in a park,
Yeah.
and you got feedback on it.
Yeah. I always advise show that in a video too. Show people playing your game, having fun, that kind of thing. And we just got the big Time's Up banner back there. Thanks, Ann. I want to thank our panel, Lev, Chrissy, David, Jordan. This has been great. I hope you all got a lot out of it and felt it was worthwhile. And we'll be over here answering any questions. We also have some gifts for everybody back there.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, we'll do it over there, so come by. Thank you. Have a great show. Happy Valentine's Day.